I froze as Ethan's fists clenched, his eyes burning with rage. "You think you can talk back to me, Nancy?" he hissed. Before I could reply, he lunged toward me, his face twisted and angered when he raised both fists and slammed them into my stomach, sending a shockwave of pain through my already broken body. Gasping for air, I clutched my sides, helpless and confined to the hospital bed. The metallic taste of fear filled my mouth as the sound of footsteps rushed toward the door. Would this nightmare ever end? Or was this the moment I would lose everything? "My name is Nancy. I'm 43 years old, a housewife, and the mother of a 7-year-old daughter named Lily. From the outside, my life might seem picture-perfect, married to Ethan, a man who once promised me a lifetime of love and happiness. But appearances can be deceiving. When Ethan and I first met, he was everything I thought I wanted. Confident, attentive, and full of charm, he swept me off my feet effortlessly. We met at a mutual friend's dinner party, and from the moment our eyes locked, I felt a spark I had never known before. Ethan seemed perfect, always knowing the right things to say, the right gestures to make. Within a year, I was wearing his ring and planning a future I believed would be beautiful. I left my steady job at an accounting firm to embrace the life Ethan envisioned, a traditional household where I would focus on family and support his career. At first, it felt like the right decision. Ethan showered me with affection, surprising me with flowers and planning romantic evenings. His promises of a bright future made every sacrifice feel worthwhile. But once the honeymoon phase ended, Ethan's demeanor changed. The man who once adored me became distant and cold. Compliments turned into criticisms, and his thoughtful gestures vanished altogether. Instead of asking how my day had gone, he started pointing out everything I hadn't done to his satisfaction. The spotless home and freshly cooked meals I once enjoyed preparing were now expectations, and anything less was met with his disapproval. Whenever I tried to express my feelings, Ethan would dismiss me outright. "You're a housewife, Nancy," he'd say with a smug grin. "It's not like you have a hard life." His words cut deep, but I swallowed my pain, telling myself that I needed to stay strong for Lily. My daughter deserved a stable home, even if I had to endure Ethan's growing indifference to provide it. Over the years, I realized the man I had fallen in love with was gone. Ethan had become a stranger, one who no longer saw me as a partner, but as someone to command and criticize. What I once believed was a dream had slowly turned into a nightmare, yet I clung to the hope that someday things might change. Ethan's criticism became a constant in my life, a dark cloud hovering over every moment. No matter how much effort I put into keeping the house spotless or making sure dinner was ready when he walked through the door, it was never enough. He always found something to complain about. "You missed a spot on the counter," he'd say as he dropped his bag on the kitchen table. Or, "Why isn't Lily ready for bed yet? What do you even do all day?" His words felt like tiny cuts, slowly eroding my confidence. At first, I tried to reason with him, explaining how much effort I put into managing everything. But my words always fell on deaf ears. "You're just making excuses, Nancy," he'd reply. "You have one job, to take care of this house and our family. Why is that so hard?" Ethan's frequent job changes only made things worse. Each time he came home with news of being let go or quitting, he would blame everyone but himself. His bosses were unfair, his co-workers incompetent. And yet, somehow, he managed to twist these failures into reasons why I was the one letting him down. "You're supposed to make things easier for me," he'd say. "Instead, you're just another problem I have to deal with." I often felt like I was raising two children, Lily and Ethan. While I did everything to make Lily's childhood happy and safe, Ethan's unpredictable moods made it a constant challenge. He would criticize her, too, scolding her for minor things like leaving toys on the floor or talking too loudly. I found myself stepping in, trying to shield her from his harshness. "Don't take that tone with her," I'd say firmly, only for him to turn his anger on me. "Maybe if you taught her some discipline, I wouldn't have to," he'd snap back. As the years passed, I stopped trying to argue. It was exhausting, and I knew it would only escalate. Instead, I focused on Lily, pouring all my energy into giving her a sense of stability and love, even as my own spirit wore thin. Ethan, on the other hand, seemed to thrive on control. The man I had once admired had become someone I barely recognized, a man whose words and actions left me feeling small and invisible. And yet, I stayed. For Lily, I told myself. For the hope that one day things might get better. It was a typical Tuesday evening, and I had just finished grocery shopping. My mind was preoccupied with the long list of tasks waiting for me at home, preparing dinner, checking Lily's homework, and tidying up the kitchen. As I crossed the street with bags in hand, I never saw the car coming. The screech of tires and the blaring of the horn were the last things I heard before everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, my body aching and immobilized. Both of my legs were in casts, and every breath sent sharp pain through my ribs. A nurse stood beside me, explaining that I had been hit by a speeding car. My injuries were severe, and my recovery would take months. In those first few days, I felt utterly helpless. Tasks I had taken for granted, sitting up, eating, even reaching for a glass of water, were impossible without assistance. My parents, Eleanor and Richard, became my lifeline, visiting me daily and taking care of Lily while I was confined to the hospital. They brought me meals, reassured me that Lily was doing fine, and tried to lift my spirits with their constant support. But Ethan was nowhere to be seen. I had expected him to rush to my side the moment he heard about the accident. Instead, there was only silence. Days turned into weeks, and still he didn't come. Each time the door to my hospital room opened, I hoped it would be him, but it never was. When the third week arrived, Ethan finally made an appearance. As he walked into the room, his expression wasn't one of concern or guilt. It was annoyance. He stood at the foot of my bed, arms crossed, and delivered his first words since the accident. "Do you have any idea how much of a burden you've become?" His words hit me harder than the car that had left me broken in this bed. I stared at him, trying to process the cruelty of what he had just said. How could he blame me for this? How could someone I had given so much to treat me like this? "What do you mean?" Ethan's sharp, cutting words echoed in the sterile hospital room. "Do you have any idea how much of a burden you've become?" he repeated, his tone cold and dismissive. I struggled to sit up, my broken body protesting with every small movement, and looked at him in disbelief. "I didn't ask for this, Ethan," I said, my voice trembling. "I didn't choose to be hit by a car." He scoffed and moved closer, standing over me like a judge delivering a sentence. "You think that makes a difference? You're lying here doing nothing, and now I'm supposed to handle everything? I can't afford this, Nancy. You need to figure it out." Tears welled up in my eyes as his words cut through me. "Figure it out? I can't even walk, Ethan. What do you expect me to do?" Ethan's expression hardened. "Sell your jewelry," he snapped. "You've got more than enough to cover this mess. I'm not wasting another dime on you." I froze, the shock of his cruelty momentarily silencing me. "You're serious?" I whispered. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? You're my husband, Ethan. You're supposed to support me." "Support you," he barked, his voice rising. "You're useless now, Nancy. I have to carry this family on my back, and you can't even do your part anymore." The air in the room felt heavy, suffocating, as his anger boiled over. I couldn't stay silent any longer. "I've done nothing but support you, Ethan. I gave up my career for you, raised our daughter, and kept our home running while you bounced from one job to another. And now, when I need you most, you call me useless?" His face twisted in rage. "You think you can talk back to me?" he shouted, slamming his fists onto the edge of the bed. "You don't get to make demands." I flinched, but before I could respond, he lunged forward. His fists clenched tightly, and he struck me in the stomach with both hands. Pain shot through my already broken body, leaving me gasping for air. The room spun as I tried to process what had just happened. "What are you?" The pain from Ethan's attack radiated through my body, leaving me gasping and clutching my stomach. Before I could fully process what had happened, the door to my hospital room burst open. A nurse and a security guard rushed in, their faces a mixture of shock and determination. What's going on here? The nurse demanded, stepping between me and Ethan. She provoked me. Ethan shouted defensively, his fists still clenched. She's ruining my life. The security guard didn't hesitate. Sir, step back now, he ordered, grabbing Ethan by the arm. Ethan resisted, but the guard tightened his grip. You need to leave immediately. Ethan turned to me one last time, his face pale with fury. You'll regret this, Nancy, he hissed. This isn't over. As the guard escorted him out, I felt a mixture of fear and relief. My body ached, my heart was shattered, but for the first time, I realized I couldn't stay silent any longer. Ethan's cruelty had reached a point of no return. The nurse leaned over me, checking my injuries. Are you okay? She asked gently, her voice filled with concern. Tears streamed down my face as I nodded weakly. Please, just keep him away from me, I whispered. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. My parents, Eleanor and Richard, stepped in completely, ensuring I was never alone. They handled every detail, from caring for Lily to speaking with the hospital administration about filing a formal report against Ethan. Their unwavering support became my anchor in the storm. Physically, I was healing, but the emotional scars ran deeper. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan standing over me, his fists raised in rage. The memory of his attack replayed in my mind like a nightmare I couldn't escape. Despite the pain, I knew I had to take action. Not just for myself, but for Lily. I began speaking with a lawyer, Amanda, who assured me that Ethan would be held accountable for his actions. You've been through enough, Nancy, she said firmly. It's time to fight back. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of hope. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was preparing to take control of my life. The decision to fight back wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Ethan's violent outburst in the hospital had solidified what I already knew. I couldn't let him continue to control or harm me. For Lily's sake and my own, I had to ensure he faced the consequences of his actions. With the support of my parents, I began gathering everything I needed for my case. Amanda, my lawyer, was a sharp and determined woman who quickly became my strongest ally. During our first meeting, she listened intently as I recounted years of Ethan's emotional abuse and the physical attack in the hospital. You have a strong case, Nancy, Amanda assured me. Between the hospital staff's testimonies and the medical records documenting your injuries, we can prove his actions beyond any doubt. Hearing those words gave me a renewed sense of purpose. I worked with Amanda to collect evidence, from the nurse's statements to photos of my bruises taken immediately after the incident. My parents also helped compile documentation showing Ethan's neglect and his history of financial irresponsibility. Each piece of evidence painted a clear picture of a man who had spent years tearing me down. The legal process was grueling, but I refused to back down. Ethan, on the other hand, tried to intimidate me from the sidelines. He left voicemails alternating between empty apologies and thinly veiled threats. You're ruining my life, he said in one. If you think you can win, you're wrong. I didn't respond to any of his calls. Amanda advised me to remain silent and let the evidence speak for itself. Don't give him the satisfaction of a reaction, she said. As the court date approached, I threw myself into my recovery. Physical therapy was excruciating, but each small victory, standing up for the first time, taking a single step, reminded me of my strength. Lily's bright laughter and my parents' unwavering support kept me going, even on the hardest days. I wasn't just preparing for a legal battle, I was reclaiming my life. For years, Ethan had stripped me of my confidence and independence. Now, I was determined to show him, and myself, that I was stronger than he ever imagined. The day of the hearing arrived, and I felt a mix of nerves and determination. Dressed in a simple yet confident outfit, I walked into the courtroom with Amanda by my side. My parents sat in the gallery, their reassuring smiles a constant source of strength. Lily, too young to understand the situation, stayed at home with a trusted babysitter. Ethan was already seated at the defense table, his once confident demeanor replaced by visible unease. His lawyer whispered hurriedly in his ear, but his eyes kept darting toward me. The man who had always tried to dominate me now looked like a shadow of himself. Amanda began the case with a clear and precise recounting of Ethan's actions, starting with the assault in the hospital. The nurse and security guard testified, detailing the moment they intervened during Ethan's violent outburst. Their statements were compelling, painting a vivid picture of the attack. Next, Amanda presented the medical records, which documented not only the injuries from the accident, but also the additional bruising caused by Ethan's punches. Photos of my injuries were displayed, and I could feel the weight of the evidence settling in the courtroom. Ethan's lawyer attempted to downplay the incident, calling it a moment of frustration and arguing that Ethan had already apologized. But Amanda wasn't having any of it. She methodically dismantled every excuse, emphasizing Ethan's history of emotional abuse and neglect. "This isn't just about one incident," Amanda said, her voice firm. "This is the culmination of years of cruelty, manipulation, and violence. Nancy has endured enough, and it's time for her to receive justice." When Ethan took the stand, his attempts to shift blame were weak and unconvincing. "She's exaggerating," he stammered. "I've done everything for this family, and she's the one trying to ruin me." Amanda's cross-examination was relentless. She forced Ethan to admit his failures as a husband and father, leaving him visibly shaken. By the time she finished, his defenses had crumbled entirely. After hours of testimony and deliberation, the judge delivered the verdict. Ethan was found guilty of assault and domestic abuse. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison and ordered to pay significant fines, including compensation for my medical expenses. As the gavel struck, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Justice had been served. As the courtroom gavel struck, signaling Ethan's conviction, a wave of relief washed over me. Justice had finally been served. I left the courthouse with my parents by my side, their reassuring presence a constant reminder that I was no longer alone in this fight. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of freedom to build a life where Lily and I could thrive without fear. Within weeks of the verdict, I found a cozy apartment in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't large, but it was everything I needed to create a fresh start for us. Each piece of furniture and every decoration felt symbolic of a life reclaimed. Moving into our new home gave me a renewed sense of purpose, and Lily's laughter echoed through the rooms, filling the space with hope. Determined to provide for her and secure our future, I decided to explore something new. One evening, as Lily and I sat watching videos online, an idea sparked in my mind. What if I shared my story, not just the struggles, but the strength it took to overcome them? With my parents' encouragement, I launched a YouTube channel. I started by posting videos about my journey, surviving an abusive marriage, fighting for justice, and rebuilding a life from scratch. My goal wasn't just to share my experience, but to offer hope to others who might be going through similar struggles. I talked about resilience, self-care, and finding joy in small victories. To my surprise, people began connecting with my content almost immediately. Within a few months, my channel grew rapidly. Viewers left heartfelt comments, sharing their own stories and thanking me for inspiring them. Brands reached out for collaborations, and the income one started generating from my channel far exceeded my expectations. For the first time in years, I felt financially independent. The success of the channel allowed me to not only secure Lily's future, but also pursue dreams I had long buried. I began saving for her education and planning fun trips for us, creating memories I hoped she would cherish forever. Our small apartment became a haven of joy and laughter. Every night, as Lily and I cooked dinner together or sat on the couch watching her favorite shows, I felt immense gratitude for the life we had rebuilt. I was no longer the woman Ethan had tried to break. I was stronger, wiser, and happier. And with Lily by my side, I knew our future was bright. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel. If you enjoyed this story and found it inspiring, don't forget to like this video. Your support motivates me to share more stories like this. Comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you. Have you faced challenges like these? Or do you know someone who has? Let's start a conversation. Subscribe to my channel. Don't miss out on more empowering stories. life lessons, and tips to navigate tough times. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with every new video. Your support means the world to me. Together, we can build a community of strength, hope, and positivity. Thank you for being a part of this journey. See you in the next video.